Hi guys, Alexander Thorek here, and today I have a great guest, Dan Dalton. He's an HR professional and he also John Maxwell team member. So basically, we from the same neighborhood of John C. Maxwell team. Dan, please represent yourself, and I'd love to hear from your experiences, how you lead people, because I know you have huge experience and you can add so much value to people.
Well, thanks for having me on, Alexander. I appreciate the opportunity. But hello, everyone. My name is Dan Dalton, and I have been in human resource leadership in one capacity or another for almost 30 years. Started out as a corporate trainer for a Fortune 500 company, and that kind of opened up human resources as a career field to me. And I continue my education and lifelong learner in areas of human resources. I've considered myself to be something of an HR behaviorist. I like to find out why people behave the way they do at work. And how does that differ from the way they behave elsewhere? And just use that to turn it into something that is contributory to someone's enhancement in their career, but also their contribution to their organization toward meeting those goals and to make everybody successful.
Nice to have you here.
Pleasure.
So today I'd like to talk about three questions. Why leaders or why people who have leadership positions don't understand leadership? And second question, why if some understand leadership, but they don't practice leadership? And third one, why leaders are not willing to change? When they decide to change, but they are not willing to change. And all of that stuff just bring us to the cultural transformation. So let's start from the first one.
Okay. I think that to begin with, I think that there are some people who are in leadership positions who may not necessarily embrace the difference between management and leadership. As you know, and we all kind of teach from the Maxwell School, that leadership is paying into somebody, is influencing somebody, most hopefully for the good. Being a manager does not necessarily mean that one is a leader. And I think that those who feel like they've reached a position or have been granted a position of management, that they are automatically leaders, and so they do not pay into themselves their leadership skills, their influence skills, things of that nature. So I think that's one reason why they may just equate one with the other, and that one automatically comes with another. And the other aspect of that, I would think, is that you don't have to be a manager or in an influential role in your organization to be a leader. You can still be an influence process, an influence of people, influence of culture, without being a manager or having some impressive title or high place in the org chart. So I think that would be where I began the discussion about those managers who don't practice leadership or don't understand leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that every single human has a natural leadership inclination. Of course, leaders, they are not born, leaders made, but each of us, we have a natural leadership inclination since our birthday, but somebody has more, somebody has less, but all of us, we have it in us. And it's like one person asked me on the social media that if I'm not a leader type of person, can I become a leader? And my answer was absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because
there's that mindset out there that leaders are born and not made, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But to what you said a moment ago, all of us have aspects of leadership because all of us have God-given strengths in areas that are a little bit stronger in our personality than in other areas. And He's made other people that are strong in the areas where we're not as strong, and that's their leadership a direction on that. So, but I do believe that all the leadership is a learned skill. It can be enhanced from where you have it now and can be built up where it may be lacking.
Yes, absolutely. And the analogy that I gave to the person, I said, look, for example, you come to you just approach to the horse. Horse doesn't speak any languages at all, but you feel that horse, and that horse feels you.
Mm-hmm.
So you just connect to that horse. Then as soon as you just connected with the horse, that horse let you jump on it, on the top. And you just jump on the top and you just grab the horse, just sit in the saddle and just race the horse. And again, you're not become a good horse race rider. You just learn how to do that. And
Right.
over time, you become even a good horse racer because you practice every single day. And first of all, what you have to have is connection. Same thing with people. All of us, we have it in us. I believe that.
We all, as you said, we all have a leadership ability on that. Exercising it is another factor, but I think we're kind of getting into question number 2. So
yes. But question number 2 just smoothly comes from question number 1. So, because people, I met, I just don't want to say about industry because it's very little industry here in Canada. So I just spoke with some vice presidents of big companies. And when I just met them on one leadership, on one networking event, let's say, and they asked me, so just tell me who you are, what you are doing. I said, well, I'm a leadership coach and consultant. And that person right away started to tell me what leadership is. I thought, wow, such a smart vice president of that company. And he told me just a lot of stuff about leadership. Then later on, maybe 2 weeks later, I spoke with mid-manager from his organization and asked that manager about leadership, about culture. And she told me, you know what? Nobody cares. I said, what? Nobody cares. I said, why? You vice president, he's so smart. He has leadership knowledge. She said, yes, he's smart, but he doesn't practice leadership. And just, so it happens. It happens in so many different organizations that, so what do you think? Have you had those experiences? That?
I think that especially for long-standing organizations, companies and organizations that have been in existence for a long, long time, they've taken on a culture and have identified leadership based upon who was at the helm early on, founders and original owners. I've been with organizations that have been family owned for a long, long time, and I have found that they are very rich in their tradition, but very slow to change what built them initially. And a lot of time it is the charisma and right, wrong, or indifferent, the leadership style of the founder. And it is sometimes the successors to those leadership are reticent to change the culture or what has been defined as leadership heretofore, even if they don't necessarily completely agree or feel that the leadership is lagged behind where they need to be competitive. So I think that is, this just history of some organizations, I think, prevent leaders from allowing leadership to evolve with the organization. As you said before, when we're discussing the first question, everybody that joins the organization comes with their own personality, with their own skill set, with their own strengths and development areas, and that in and of itself creates an evolution of sorts of your culture, of your people, of your leadership mindset. And you've got it. Leadership is a fluid thing. It's not something that is rigid. It's something that that changes because the demands upon the leader change. I mean, some of John's initial books were considered revolutionary about, oh my gosh, you're supposed to have conversations with people. I just thought leadership was telling them what to do. So I think that that's one aspect of why people in leadership positions don't necessarily embrace or do appropriate leadership. Another thing I think is that there are those that simply have not had the opportunity to learn, that they've got some good raw talent, but it's never been brought up or catered to or even focused on as a point of development. That they don't embrace leadership because they've never been taught how or given permission to. So I think those are probably two areas that I would say are why leadership skills or leadership opportunities just go unused.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And also, I realize that it happens because people who have leadership positions, they just really self-focused. They are not focused on their people. They just focus on their vision, on their income, on their strategy, and they think how to make things differently. But they are not really focusing on people and ask them questions, because people basically, they know how to make stuff. People know how to do all the job that company will become more effective or more successful. Because very often business owners, they don't want to go to frontline people. They think, okay, they know their job, they know what they're doing, but it's okay, just I'll keep them there. If they are not do their good job, just we'll fire them, we'll bring another guy. So this is, some leaders do like this. Well, they are not leaders, they are managers. They just manage processes.
Exactly.
They don't lead people. And they see just, and this is a huge barrier that they have, because when they manage processes, they don't see before than others see. And they don't see more than others see, like John said. They just,
well,
yeah.
I'm sorry. It's kind of hard to see where you can pay into somebody if you're always looking inward and thinking of only of yourself and your own.
Absolutely.
Leaderships have to be outward looking. They have to be constantly surveying the people around them, and because you'll miss opportunities to pay into people if you're not looking at and for those opportunities.
Absolutely. That's correct. And what do you think, why leaders who do understand leadership and who practice leadership at a certain level, but they are not willing to change?
That's a great question, because if they're actually leading but not changing, then I think perhaps and very similar to the way we ended the last question, is that they might have gotten wrapped up in the success of previous leadership and feel like they can continue to ride that wave, but leadership, just like opportunities, is an ever-changing, ever-evolving opportunity. I've had a mentor back when I first started my professional career in consumer banking, before I got into human resources. And he used to always say, well, that's the reason why we work in pencil. Because things need to be changed. Things need to, you may need to erase some things. But if they're change averse, is not an uncommon characteristic in leaders, as well as people throughout the organization. There's a little bit of fear in change, and that's just a natural thing of being part of the human animal. But the true leader, somebody who is not only a manager and understands the evolution of their business, but a true leader realizes that there's a similar evolution in culture, a similar evolution in markets, a similar evolution in the development of whatever industry they are in. I mean, can you imagine a physician who started their career in the 60s or 70s who was unwilling to change with all the innovations that have happened in medicine in the past 30 or 40 years? Some of what we do as consultants and coaches and HR people, HR wasn't even a profession 30 years ago. It was, but it has evolved. So just knowing how the world of change, not just the business world, but the world in general change. And to be a leader, you've got to be able to understand that there is a time for change. Now, there's also a time not to change. And knowing the balance between those two, I think, is crucial.
Then you just added so much value to people and to listeners that people can understand how leadership works from your perspective, from our conversation. And what I'd like to ask you, what the best advice would you give to other HR managers? Because as I know, you have 30 years of experience as HR director. And I'm sure that you met so many great people and you had so much experiences, good experiences with them. What would you advise to human resource managers and directors and to vice presidents in terms of your job?
If there was one message that I could get across to my colleagues in human resources, one universal thing that I could get everybody to focus on is to set up a culture of conversation, that there be meaningful conversations on a 360-degree array of communication, that managers are speaking regularly with their direct reports, that they have regular conversations with their bosses, that they have regular conversation with their peers, because that helps sharpen perspective. It prevents that the blindness that can sometimes happen when people get in a silo and they're being successful and they don't want to rock the boat. But it's all about communication. And I read a Gallup poll recently of why people leave organizations. And as HR professionals know, the average tenure of employees in their roles is getting shorter and shorter as the workforce evolves. But the biggest comments that were made by people who voluntarily left their organizations, who said that I had no meaningful conversations with my boss in the last year. And that meaningful conversation is having to do with helping understand how they're doing, where an individual needs to work and develop, and just affirmation that what they're doing is good, and some kind of meaningful discussion about career advancement. They didn't know what opportunities were there, so they felt like they had to leave to go make their own path. So just if there was a regularly set time that you have conversations with the people above you, with the people on either side of you, and most importantly, with the people who report to you, and just build that into your overall performance management and expectation that is a leadership skill that must be presented by anybody in a managerial position. That would be my biggest goal. If I could do that, I could hang it up and feel really confident about a career well done. So.
Wow. So nice advice. And I see what you say, because I've seen in so many organizations that HR managers, they try the best, but executives and mid managers, they just don't do a really good job at all. And this is not HR manager to go to the department or to division or to the plant and teach their leaders how to lead people. This is the personal responsibility of every single leader to lead their teams.
Exactly.
But because of that, HR managers sometimes they just walk slowly through the crowd, they ask questions, and they come to the point that leaders in some departments, they just don't lead, they just manage. And when HR managers come together with business owners, and those business owners realize that those managers just manage processes, and when they ask HR managers, but how did you hire him? That he just managed processes. You didn't see his personal values? And the HR manager say, yes, I saw his personal values. He's a good guy. He's really a good guy. But a good guy is not a position.
Not always.
Yeah. So I've seen those situations. So this is why I decided to share with you as human resource expert.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share with my colleagues. So,
yeah. Okay, then. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your time. I hope very soon we'll talk again about corporate culture, and I'm sure you have a lot what to share with other leaders, how to make culture more effective culture.
I'd love the opportunity to continue our conversation, Alexander, very much.
Thank you very much.